Pencil Kings, 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 Pencil Kings.
So I read what they needed, and I thought I can do that.
All right, it's Wednesday, and so we are back, and this is the Pencil Kings podcast. And before we start, I just want to say, if you've been listening and sitting on the fence, you want to improve your art, I really encourage you to come and check us out at pencilkings.com. We've got our free course back up, so if you go to pencilkings.com/free, you can take, I think it's 6 courses that we have there on how to draw a face, and you can get started for free. So today we are talking to Hendrik Visser. Did I say it all right?
Yes, you did say it all right.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm sitting here in a nice rainy morning in Holland.
All right. So I'm glad to be talking to somebody in the EU because then that means that the time zone thing isn't such an issue. So we've been talking a little bit before this, and to start off, why don't you give people like a 1-minute overview about some of the work that you've been doing? Just something really short so that people get a sense of your work, and then we'll really dive into your story.
Yeah, well, I've been working now for 4 years in a theme park company, and I've been doing like these big theme park projects where you go from master plan to the detailed design, and there've been a couple of parks now, which one in Poland, one in China, one in Istanbul. Currently, we are working again on another park in Poland. Yeah, so that's what I did at my job, and next to that, I'm working on computer games with a talented group of people in my spare time, and I also try to do my own stuff, of course, which you can see on my site.
That was a great 1-minute overview, by the way.
I'm so glad.
All right, so I didn't know you were doing the part-time video game stuff, and I definitely want to ask you about that because that's something that I did as well, and something that really helped with my get my career started.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the theme park stuff, because there's been a few people now on the podcast who have mentioned that they're working on theme parks, and then, recently Banksy created his Dismaland, so that was popping up on my news feed. And I'm wondering, what is it that I'm hearing so much about theme parks? Because it's something that I feel that I have heard of before, but it just seems like it's coming up again and again and again. And what is it about theme parks from your point of view?
Well, I think people now in this crisis times, they don't go on vacation that often anymore because it's expensive, and you'd rather save that money for food, and so they choose to do it like shorter days, like maybe a weekend or something. And I think then a theme park is a really good way to get your mind into some otherworldly stuff and really escape from the reality for a while. And I think that's much cheaper. So I think that's why the theme parks are more popular, but also in theme parks, it's kind of like you always have to invest, or else the business won't run that well. So you in bad times you have to invest to get more people, and in good times you have to invest to keep more people. So I think it will always continue. So in the bad times, maybe the theme park companies do better compared to the other companies. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so at least I know that investing is really important, even if it's like bad times, because or else it will go downward even more.
Right. And how did you get started in theme parks? Because like everything, I'm sure there is a school out there or a training program or something that specializes in theme park design, but I've not heard of it.
No, me neither.
Okay. Well, then how did you get started in theme parks? Is it just somebody saw your portfolio and was like, hey, this guy would be really good for doing theme park design? Or is it something that you had to strive for and work towards? Did you get in through a friend? How did you get started?
Well, I will tell you. I started off as I did an education. I wanted to be like a fine artist. So I did an education in that too. And after that, I tried a year to make money with that, but it's super hard because nobody knows you, and you don't build like this oeuvre in just after your education. So I started finding jobs that could like connect with what I was able to do, because I always drew a lot, and I always looked at a lot of tutorials, and so I educated myself next to my fine art education, so I could fall back on a lot of stuff. And I always loved games, of course, and movies. So I went looking, and then TweetDeck was just there, so I put on TweetDeck, and I typed in a lot of like words that related to illustration stuff or concept art stuff, and see if I could get in somewhere that could match my skills, and then try to build from that. So I saw this tweet of a guy that said there was this vacature of how do you say that, like job
posting or job board?
Yeah, no, there was a vacancy, right?
Okay.
Vacancy?
Yep.
Yeah. So I read what they needed, and I thought I can do that. So I fully prepared a portfolio, and I've written really like dedicated to them motivational letter, and checking out their sites and what they did, and then I just sent my work. But this was all like kind of weird fine art stuff, so surreal stuff. So it's not really that you could see what I did. But I also did some, back then I was having this project with a band, and instead of a singer, we had like an artist, which was me, and I designed the stage with them, and the costumes, and we made like a whole performance. And I could use that work to show that I've also been busy with environment stuff, and at least I think that maybe helped, because then I showed that design could be carried to something in real life, and this is really important in the theme park industry. And I had the luck that this company was just starting to grow, so it was not that huge still, and so I could step in there. And
so it's kind of like you had the right skill set, or
yes,
they could see potential, and you got in at the right time, and then that's where you've been ever since.
Yeah, I think I've been there ever since now. 4 years, and it was 4 years ago I got there, and I think it's really the traditional base that I had, and the design skills you learn at school, and. Well, and then they let me, and now the company really growed with me. That's why I'm there so long, because the company went like they had then 12 designers, and now they have 40, and they have a lot of like daughter companies now, and so it grew, so it could grow with my skills.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really important takeaway, is that your side projects, they often do count for quite a lot when you're going into those job interviews. Like,
yes, definitely.
You think you're just doing it because you like doing it, or it's cool, or it's interesting, or you want to learn something new. But it's like, no, these things actually, they do influence your hand-drawn work if you're working in sculpture or whatever, and it can't not influence things, and it opens new possibilities for you.
And it's also about how you use it, right, in an interview. Like you can, I think like almost all projects, you can highlight one thing that is relevant to what you're applying to. You know, to what job you're applying to. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I mean? Like, you can highlight one part of the design process that is relevant, in which you can show that you can do certain things.
So you're just saying that when you're in a job interview, then to make sure that you explain one thing that's relevant to the actual job for each project that you're showing.
Yeah, or show that the skills that you need for the job, that you've been busy with that in side projects.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get to talking about your other side project that you have now, which I'm actually kind of dying to talk about, but I want to talk more about the theme park stuff. So let's say, what do you actually do for theme park design? Because I have not yet asked this question, and in my mind it's you have some overall idea, or there's an art director and he gives you a brief, so you kind of know what the theme park is about, and then you get assigned a specific area, and because theme parks are often designed, like separated into different within the theme park, there's multiple sub-themes. If you think about Disney World, then they've got like the big castle, and then they've got Space Mountain as an area, and there's all these different areas. Is that how it works? And then you could start drawing your sketches, and then it gets handed off to somebody who turns those into real things?
Yeah, kind of. Well, of course, Disney is always a big inspiration because they did it really well. A lot of times, the parks that are built next to Disney don't have that much money. They want to build the same stuff, of course, but they never have the money that Disney has and the resources, and so it's always they want Disney, but they want to pay for a nice park, like a nice city park. And so a lot of times they try to do it exactly the same, but I think that's the best way. But I think Disney designs their stories, they have their stories, which is also a very convenient thing because everybody knows their stories. So you don't have to tell any new stories, so you can just pick one and everybody knows already what's happening. So that's also design-wise a lot easier.
Right.
But they usually choose the ride to the story, and a lot of times at our company we choose first the rides and then put stories in there, so and
could you give us an example of what that would be like? Well, let's say a roller coaster.
Yeah, you have a roller coaster and you want this volcano theme where things are exploding, and or do you want you're a traveler company and you want to travel down to the volcano mountain. I don't know. I just think of something now. And this is the car where you go in there. It's maybe a science fiction cart, and you want to push that into the ride. So the ride has to look like a science fiction vehicle, which is equipped to travel into volcanoes. So it needs heat shields and all that stuff. Then you need a volcano somewhere. So maybe when you are at the top, you are at the top of the volcano, and then you go down or something. But you have to show this, so you have to find a way how to build this story around the ride. And now the ride is, of course, built by another company, and you get drawings and technical stuff from it, and all the envelopes of how broad you can theme and where the theming can be and which parts have to be free. And, of course, budget is one of the most important things. Learn to design to budget. Because in a lot of the times, if your design gets made or not will be dependent on did you design it to the budget well. So yeah, I'll take all of that in consideration, and then you can try to make impressions and stuff. So you start with a story and a concept of how it would look, and then then it goes to technical people to see how they can, if it's possible, and how they can translate stuff, and it goes back to us, and we try to find ways how to make it look the way that it is possible, but it also look realistic. And so it goes back and forth all the time, and it's almost never a linear process in that sense. Of course, there's certain stages which are important. So you first have a master plan, and you decide where the rides are, and this ride, then you decide this roller coaster will be in one of the lands, and also its precision is important about what you're going to tell there.
So basically you get all these specs and very detailed maybe blueprints or something like that, and you're talking about envelopes. That's basically how big the space is around let's say it's a roller coaster, the car. And I guess the thing that I'm curious about is how does it, you mentioned that you have to design it so that it's affordable or so that it's not too expensive.
Yeah.
But when you're designing something, how do you approach that? Because I feel like your job is to design, not to know how much materials are going to cost and how much you need and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, but I think it is. The theming company usually is at least at our particular company, it's a lot of times you have to collect all the information that is there. So we're kind of the combination of everything, because we have to start it because it's the concept and the story, but we also have to end it because when it gets made, it needs to be art directed. So it's what we thought of. So it looks like that, and because we have to know everything, because when you want to team, for instance, a kiosk, you have to know what the people need there. That you're not like putting signages on places where it's super annoying, or they will sell less, or you don't have enough space to put, for instance, food in or something, or where is the food stored, so you can design around it. And this is a really practical thing, and also that's also with toilets, but yeah, with rides even more so, because there's a lot of things that can be dangerous, or we have to think about. And how high do the fences have to be, but they cannot be too high. And for instance, this is a really detailed thing that in a lot of countries, there's regulations about fences for theme parks and all that stuff, that you cannot climb it from 10 centimeters off the ground or something. Well, those things you need to know. And if you take them all in consideration, then your design will go further in the process. If you don't do that, you a lot of times will get it back and you have to redesign, and redesign is always designing it again, kind of. So yeah, you need all that input. And for instance, we recently worked on a big zoo. Well, then you have animals. And what do they like? We want rock landscapes, but how do the rock landscapes have to go when there's also animals walking in there? And what kind of rocks can it be? And how high do they have to be? Because a lot of times they are also the natural barriers of the spaces they walk in.
Right.
So you're constantly juggling all those things, which is fun because you're solving problems all the time.
Yeah, I can see that. And it sounds like there's two parts of your brain engaged. One is like a very technical, kind of analytical, figuring it out. And then there's also the creative side, and they have to work together back and forth. So yes. I could see it being a very engaging and challenging and rewarding career, because like you said, you are solving these problems all the time. It's not like you just sit down, you draw your sketch, and then you hand it off and do the next one and hand it off. And you're way more involved than that.
Yes, pretty much. I don't know if that's the same in every company, because I still have the feeling I have a lot to say in that sense as a designer, because I think I can imagine that in Disney you're like this, you're part of this huge engine where you're just one little piece.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's like that at our company. It's like really flat hierarchy, and everybody talks with each other. And this is necessary because you have to talk with each other. This is really important. Because there's always and it's also like the technical people are also technical designers. So a lot of times they will come with stuff and you're like, oh, wow, that's an awesome idea, which you would never think of in your concept like mind.
Let's change gears a little bit here, because I'm curious about your side project now that you said that you're working on a video game with some friends. And the reason why I want to ask this is because I'm a huge advocate of side projects and kind of like getting outside of your comfort zone. And I remember for myself that there was, I can't remember the exact date, but there was literally a day when I decided, it's like, okay, I'm going to get good at modeling figures in 3D. And there was a group, I can't remember what the group was called now, but there was another guy, I remember his name is Troy Gussler III. and
Wow.
he was also like, yeah, let's do this. And him and I were kind of like pushing each other and working. And then I found a group that was putting together a mod, which if you're listening and you don't know what a mod is, on the console you can't really do this, but on the computer you can often change the video games. Like you can change the artwork in it, and you can get a programmer and change this stuff.
You have really famous mods.
Yeah. And so we created a mod, and so I worked on a team. There was no money given, and it was all over the internet. I've never met any of these people in person, and I remember the leader's name was Zappy AD, and I don't even know if I knew what his real name was. They're just people on the internet.
Yeah.
And but we came together and we worked on this project in our spare time, and it led into when I wanted to get a job in video games. I could say, hey, I made this thing. We entered it in a contest and we won best vehicles, and I was, I made some of the vehicles for that thing. And so I'm curious about what you're doing with your friends for your video game.
Well, because this is an important thing when you're starting also. It's like I joined in on game jams. We have here that you have the global game jam, and there's all these jams around the world starting at the same time, and it's 48 hours you have to build a game. So you're crunching the whole time because you have to come up with a concept and go through this whole process in a super quick time. And the first one I did, I found a couple of people which we made a game with, and I think we won third prize. And then we decided to continue with this group of people to just build games in our free time. And well, we already released one game, which is called Berserkle, which was like a good experience because you learn how it is to make a game too, and how to make assets and all that stuff, and you're freshening up your mind in another direction also. And currently we are working on a game called Unfated, which is like a card-based RPG. Yeah, it's fully generated, so the whole world is generated, and everything is represented with cards. So if you are wounded, you will get a wounded card in your deck, so you won't be able to, like, in that sense, it's translated to cards also. It generates a world with characters, and it also remembers, so you can travel back to those characters. And it's like a really experimental game, and quite out there.
That's cool.
Yeah, and but it's hard because we don't have much time, and we are quite ambitious right now. So yeah, it's hard to juggle that, to do that in your spare time. But I think it's really good to do, because you get better in thinking about design and you will see overlapping things, in at one point with other fields.
Yeah, when I've done these side projects, I've always felt like just a lot of energy. Like I actually got energy from working on the project because I was so excited for it, and we were like creating something new. Versus sometimes when I've had a job in the past, and I feel like it's taking away energy. So when I would come home, I don't want to be doing creative work because I've been doing it all day. And so I think that I feel like you're having the same experience with this, that even though your time is limited, that you're still like really excited for the project.
Yes.
And I guess
yeah. And I am like, I don't have that. When I come home, I'm even more fired up to go do stuff. Of course, physically you get tired a bit, but you just need something mentally enticing to get you going. And I think side projects are like perfect for that.
And how do you? I mean, I feel like when you're excited for something, then it's much easier to find time, but you still mentioned that time is an issue. I know that a lot of people inside the Pencil Kings community, they're saying, I don't have that much time to work on this. But have you found anything that really is helpful? I usually tell people that to take time in the morning for yourself, whatever you want to work on. If that's your drawing, then, wake up half an hour earlier and spend 30 minutes, because usually you're in control of your mornings, but then in the day, anything can happen. Like you don't know who's going to call you. You don't know if you're going to have to work overtime. You don't know if you're going to feel sick in the afternoon. There's all kinds of things that could happen. But in the morning, usually you're in control, and things are pretty quiet in the morning too.
You're right. Yeah. I tried this. I did this for a while also. And I think it is beneficial in some sense also because you warm up yourself for the day. But I already like a 6:15 I get out of bed. So I decided to just do it in the evening. But I think the mornings are good, and I think I definitely recommend to try that. But for me, it really works in the evening. So till now, and of course, yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming in on it. But you can also say like I will at least spend an hour, for instance, even on days when you're having a lot of things. When you come home, just spend 1 hour still doing something, and maybe go to bed a little bit later then.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to find tactics too. I don't know it yet too. So
how old are you, Hendrik? I feel like you're in your 20s, but I might be wrong.
I'm 29 now.
Okay, you're 20, so you're not that much different. Because when I was in my 20s, I always worked at night, and I felt like at night is the best time because then everything is quiet. So I would often work until like 2 or 3 a.m. and then wake up at maybe 9 or 10 because we had a little bit of flexible hours because we'd often work late at that time.
Yeah.
But now I'm 34 now, and what I found is that it's better for me to go to bed earlier. And in my 20s, I used to think like, I can't go to bed early. Only old people go to bed early. and now here I am doing that exact same thing. And
but you're not old at all.
I know that's the paradox of the whole situation. But I found that it's for me this works, and I feel like you have to experiment and find out what works for you. But it is important to get that time, whether it's half an hour or an hour or whatever it is, and or just say like, this is my thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for myself, or in your case for your team or with your team. But it's something that you want to do. That like anybody could come in with a distraction. You're like, oh, that sounds awesome. I can, like say, I always use the example of a birthday party because I've had this happen where somebody will call and it's like, hey, we're having a surprise birthday party for this person. Are you in? And it's like, I got to do my thing, but I'll be there later. So I'd often show up late to birthday parties.
Yeah. You always have to juggle it. So that's what I found the hard thing. But yeah, we're not that old yet. So we're like pretty young and we're still energetic. So yeah, I think we do have the energy. It's also a lot of times it's discipline, which has to do with it too, I think. And that's a hard thing to learn, You just have to push yourself sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that I learned from when I was a production artist in video games. I would and film also. I always wanted to learn from who I thought were the best artists in the studio and see like how are they working? What are they doing differently? Why is their work so much better? And often it was just like they got in earlier and they didn't always stay later, but often, they had their side projects as well. And so this is something that I've always taken with me that I tried to wear it like a badge of honor that I would beat that person into the office, whoever I was trying to emulate or model when I was quite a bit younger.
Yeah, but even if you don't have side project, right, you can make a simple one like I'm going to do one portrait every day or something. That's also very good to do, like make a rhythm so it gets into your system, so your system gets used to it. For some reason I think it works because if it's every time different, it will take more of you because for some reason your head has to adjust, and when you make it like every day, then your mind already is starting to depend on it in a little bit. I don't know, it's a vague thing, but I think it works like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's all kinds of things happening like muscle memory and as well as just like visual memory that once you've drawn all these hands or faces or whatever it is or bodies, it's not hard anymore. You just do it and then you can start to push things creatively and you're like, okay, cool. Body drawing, I know how the proportions work, but now I'm going to try working on extreme poses. This is something new, and so you start working into that.
No, but I meant that of course too. But I meant planning wise. I think it's harder to change the gears every day than to make a rhythm of something. So if you make one portrait, it doesn't matter what it is. If you make one drawing of something every evening and you set a time for it, like for instance 11 till 12 you're drawing every evening, then your mind knows tonight I'm going to draw still, or and it's harder to every evening don't know what you're going to do. So you could like yeah, it's planning wise. It's the preparation of your mind, which you sometimes can make easier because it's already depending on it that it's gonna do it.
Definitely.
But it's also what I also did is take one day less at my job. So I now work 4 days. So I have one day to spend on the games and stuff and my own work.
Oh, really?
At least, yeah. Because I first I did it. Of course, I do it in the evenings too, but I decided to get that one day and just give back some salary, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And is this something that you proposed to the company? You just said, hey, whoever your supervisor or boss is, and would it be okay if I took one day a week?
Yeah, well, of course, in the start, I think you should be there full time always, because you have to get to know the company, and you have to get to know how to do stuff there, and what is the normal way of going. But at one point, I think you deserve some credits, and you can maybe get that day for yourself, because what you do at home and all the other projects also makes you more creative, and it stimulates your enthusiasm when you're at the job. So I think people should realize that, especially bosses of companies, because I think that it works like that.
Yep.
You can get creative, and also ideas and philosophies you develop in one field, you can use them in the other fields, because a lot of things are the same.
Mm-hmm. To finish up here, Hendrik, I'm interested. So if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, cool, I get it, side projects, important. However, I don't know where to look. And we talked about game jams. So if you're listening, you could look up, is there a game jam in my area? But do you have some other areas where people could look to get into a situation where they could find a team, or maybe there's websites that they could look at? Because I know for me, when I was young, I grew up in this little village, and I had a couple friends who were into art, but we never mobilized into anything decent. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are in the similar space where there's maybe some online spots where people could find.
Of course. Yeah, well, I also come from a small village, so I know the problem. But yeah, well, the game jams are like everywhere, so it should be possible. It's a really good way. Of course, workshops are perfect. What you can also do is find, because here in Holland we have this Dutch game garden, and there's a lot of companies in one building, which is partly, I think, subsidized by the, or maybe fully subsidized by the government, and they have a lot of companies under one umbrella. So if you go there, you walk through this building, and you have like openings to a lot of companies, and you can just start a conversation, because this is the whole purpose of having so much companies in one place, startups, that they can start up. So this is a good way. Also, the workshops that are being done now.
But like when you say workshops, how would I find a workshop? Would I just go to Google and type in my city or my closest city art workshop, or would I type in game workshop, or what do you think would be a relevant search that people could use? Because I feel like we need to make it a little bit more concrete for people, for steps that they could take away.
Oh man, that's hard. I don't know how I would find that. Like if it needs to be, I think of what you're just suggesting. Maybe that's the way to go. I think you have those famous the famous people, or the rock stars that have workshops and stuff. But yeah, a lot of times they're not in your neighborhood. So if you're in a country that doesn't have that much of things, I think you also need to travel in that sense, because here in Holland, of course, it's there's stuff here, but it's always in a little bit of a small scale, I find. So I have to travel to Germany for the bigger things, and but it's quite close. But yeah, I don't know. I have to say I don't know how to. I will really want to give an answer how to find those workshops nearby, but I don't know either.
Okay, I think I've got a couple ideas. I have not tried these, but I feel like a lot of things are mentioned on Twitter, so you might be able to look up by your location workshop, and you might have to filter through a lot of different workshops, but you might hit on themes where if you're into art, there might be like a woodworking workshop, and you could get in contact with whoever's putting that on and say like, hey, I'm not interested in a workshop, but I'm trying to find more art related workshops. Do you know anywhere that I should look? And these people who are putting on these workshops, often they know a lot more about what's going on than you do. I think there's also meetup.com there's a lot of people there that are doing interesting things. And again, if there's not like a specific video game or whatever you're interested in, there's not one specifically for what you want. Maybe there's something related, and you can go there and talk to those people and see. You could just let people know what you're interested in, and then they will also know other things that are going on locally.
But I'm just thinking about it. I've just been painting yesterday, a portrait painting with a group of artists from Holland here. So I think Facebook is like your way to go too, because
of course,
you just add everybody that's related to your field and in your country. Also, a lot of people in your country, because those are the people that you can literally go to easily. And a lot of times there will be one of them, or you can do it yourself, of course. We'll be organizing something, and you can try to help them, or say, yeah, let's do that, and I will be there. Because there's a lot of things, small things going around in the area. In Holland is a very small place, but if you have people from your company in your list, you have a bigger chance of discovering the things that are going on there, especially when they're in your field, I think.
Yeah. One more to add here is universities or colleges that they probably have an idea of some of the things that are going on outside of the school, or they might actually be putting on public workshops at the school. So
also,
a few different places that you could go, and if you can't find anything, you can always go to online, find some forums, and just start reaching out to people and saying, hey, do you want to do an art project, a collaborative art project?
Yeah, start it yourself, because I think that's also very important. Like you don't have to wait till you find something. You can also do it yourself and start attracting people.
Yep. And lastly, I'll say that in that similar vein, that I found when you take a course, that they'll often put you in a group, like an online forum or like a private forum or a private Facebook group or something like this.
Yeah.
So you're paying money for the course, and at first you feel like, okay, I'm paying to learn this thing, but what never really seems to be advertised that you're also paying for the network of the people that you're exposed to. So realize that and take advantage of that opportunity. So while you're taking the course, don't be a lone wolf. Don't just do it all on your own and ignore the community. Take part in the community, because often that's where all the good stuff will happen. It's not through the course. It's through everything else that happens after the course, through the people you meet, because you're all interested in the same thing, and you're interested enough to put down some money and take that course. So
yeah, and also there's now all these artists that are more experienced that are giving lessons online and literally talking to you and helping you. I think you do that too a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
And you have now, for instance, you saw the stuff of Learned Square just arrive? Well, it's initiative of Anthony Jones and Macy Cruciera. I don't know how you spell how do you say his name. And I think Ash Thorpe is also in there, and they just developed a new program, and I think it's gonna be more about really interacting, not only through tutorials. So yeah, I think you should keep them watch them too, because they're doing stuff, and they are kind of building the community bigger by the combination of them, of course, also.
Very cool.
Yeah, you should check it out. I don't know, they're not really releasing much information yet, but I think it's gonna be interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Because schoolism also has those courses where you can write into, and you will literally have contact with the people that are there that can help you. Also networking, of course.
Yeah. So, Hendrik, to wrap up, why don't you tell people where they can find you online and look at some of your work? I know a lot of the stuff you have is under NDA, so you can't show any of that.
Yeah, a lot of it, yeah.
But for people that do listen, I know that they do like to check out the artwork of the people that we have on the podcast. So where's the best place to do that?
Well, you can just search my name, Hendrik Visser, at the ArtStation, but you can also go to my site, which is hendrikvisser.com. I'm kind of everywhere, and just type my name in, and you will find it like a Supply and Draw Crowd.
Cool. So we will also have links to Hendrik's websites at pencilkings.com/Hendrik Visser. And even though we're pronouncing with an F, it's actually a V. So that'll be HENDRIK-VISSER. So you can go there and find everything through there. So thank you so much, Hendrik, for being on the podcast. And,
no problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, wish you all the best with your new theme parks, and I look forward to once it's released that you can just have this flood of hopefully of work coming out, because I'm really curious and fascinated to see what these theme park drawings actually look like.
Yeah, well, soon there will be stuff.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Have a nice day.
Demands patience, skill, years of practice.
Ah, you talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.
demands patience, skill, years of practice.
Ah, you talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.